Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Pixar's Inside Out 2. All the Easter eggs, animation, and design details, and things that were just easy to miss. My wife, Kelly, worked on this film for 2.5 years, and our son is listed among the production babies in the credits. So this stunningly designed world, its wonderful themes of learning how to deal with our anxieties, and this well-crafted production have been a huge part of my life, and I am now thrilled to share it all with you. The stuff that I noticed, the things I learned, and the things I learned directly from Pixar during an insightful behind-the-scenes press visit I was able to do back in April. Okay, the film opens at the final Foghorns hockey game of the season with Joy, Amy Poehler, at the console. The music we're hearing is a rock cover of Michael Giacchino's score that opened the 2015 film. Riley's jersey number is 28, as Inside Out 2 is Pixar Studios' 28th film. Originally, her number was going to be number 29, but Inside Out 2 moved to the 28th spot after Elio was delayed. Her Under Armour brand is DMR, which is also on her and the other girls' gym bags, and it's a nod to production designer Jason Deemer, whom I actually got to meet in April as he walked us through the character design process from the original shapes of the 2015 film to this sequel and the development of the new emotions. Actually, originally joining anxiety were going to be a number of emotions, but in this concept art, this dark gray figure was one of the versions of shame. This is before the creators realized that shame maybe wasn't an internal emotion the way embarrassment or anxiety are. The creative team just wanted everything in our minds to exist for some practical reason to aid in our well-being. Shame, as an external societal construct, doesn't really do that. Joy introduces the team: anger, Lewis Black; fear, now voiced by Tony Hale, replacing Bill Hader from the first film, and of course Tony Hale voiced Forky in Toy Story 4; disgust, Lisa Lapira, replacing Mindy Kaling from the first film; and sadness, Phyllis Smith returning. In the hockey rink, one of the signs is for Spinny's Pizza, which is a nod to Carol Spinney, the beloved puppeteer behind Big Bird, and specifically a favorite of director Kelsey Mann. We learned Riley graduated middle school, turned 13, got extra rubber bands on her braces, and outgrew her favorite shirt. Now, she wore this shirt in the first film, and it had the 5 colors representing her 5 core emotions. So here, her outgrowing it symbolizes her need for more emotions than just the first 5. The emotions look at the personality islands from the first film. Fear says that Goofball Island is still monkeying around, which is both a good and a bad thing for Riley in this film. But sadness notes that Family Island is really small, engulfed by Friendship Island, telling us that this story is going to be more about Riley's friendship drives than her relationship with her parents. And to look at this tiny island, Sadness's binoculars are Lenny from Toy Story. Joy explains how memories can also form beliefs, which are represented by singular strands of light emitting from memories floating in the pool down below called the belief system. One of these being, I'm a good friend. And these coil up together to form what is called the sense of self, a kind of floral shape. And in Riley's case, that sense of self is her saying, I'm a good person. We see how Riley made her friends Bree and Grace. When Riley helped Grace pick up change during an embarrassing spill in front of the class, Riley does this because in the first movie, she cried in front of her classroom and she doesn't want Grace to go through the same thing. So the sense of self of I'm a good person was really a challenge for Riley to achieve because she had to ignore disgust urging her not to help Grace. Similarly, future stages of Riley's sense of self will require emotions to temporarily sideline each other and themselves. This is really a hint for Joy's arc in this movie. Our emotions do not dictate our sense of self. Neither Joy nor anxiety get to decide who Riley is. It's really a naturally occurring spring and a current that they have to just go with the flow of. As Joy describes the sense of self, she begins to say, now one of the challenges we had was, but then she's cut off when the penalty time ends and they are back in the game. This whole belief system logic was added relatively late during production for this film, and I think the story artists here might have just been hanging a lantern on Joy's line to avoid monologuing over their miraculous story achievement so late in the game and just get back in the story and show don't tell. So the Foghorns win. Now in the wide shot of the cheering arena, there is a girl in the lower right corner throwing up. This is added by Crowds Department Technical Director Jonah Laird. He apparently loves to add a kid in the background throwing up in shots, ever since there was a kid puking in the wide shot of the carnival in Toy Story 4. Coach Roberts, voiced by Yvette Nicole Brown, coaches the high school team, the Firehawks, and invites Riley, Bree, and Grace to a 3-day skills camp. Yes, the outer story of this film is just a girl going to camp, but you know what? When you're that age, these types of events can feel like life or death stakes. I mean, the first film was just Riley deciding whether or not she should run away from home and briefly getting on a San Francisco area bus. But that's what's so good about these movies, is they make these rites of passage feels so apocalyptic. In Riley's bedroom, there's a small poster for the boy band Four Town above her headboard. This was the group in the movie Turning Red. She has a larger poster for the female band Get Up and Glow that she later pretends like she doesn't like. Her nightstand lamp is made out of hockey sticks. I love it. So Joy takes Riley's penalty memory to this clunky plunger that she rigged up that she uses to fling bad memories to the back of the mind. So really right in this moment, we are seeing how Joy is putting her thumb on the scale. This is not for Joy to decide. Kind of like how she was in the first movie and Woody and Toy Story, Joy kind of begins as the villain of the story, trying to exert too much control in the name of helping a kid. So Joy takes sadness down to the belief system. The story artists and production designers place this below the vast dump where memories and Bing Bongs fade to suggest that this is really at the bedrock of our minds. And it's a naturally occurring spring that no one can really control. But who knows, maybe there will be a third movie where we'll find out beneath that is like one of the souls from Soul, and it'll look kind of like Riley. So while core memories form personality islands, a process that we saw in the 2015 film, other naturally flowing memories in the belief system pool form beliefs, and those beliefs come together to form the sense of self. Joy and sadness pluck these strings like the strings of a harp. We hear, Mom and Dad are proud of me, I'm kind, I'm a really good friend. But then the memory that Joy artificially adds here is, I'm a winner. You know, that's not really the best belief to have, right? And we're gonna see how Riley believing she has to be a winner ends up being harmful for her. You could argue that it is Joy's decisions that pave the way for anxiety to take over. So the 5 core emotions sleep in their residence. When I visited Pixar's campus, director of photography Adam Habib walked us through the motion capture set that they used to actually block these shots. They realized just by looking around the 3D set in the simulation was that this building just happened to be in the background of HQ in the first film and it was never explored, so why not use that interior as the place where they sleep? So in the lower left of the shot, that is an origami Pizza Planet truck. Pizza Planet truck Easter egg in every Pixar film? Got it, check. Going bunk by bunk, starting in the lower right, Fear's bunk has safety railings and comforting night lights, and he sleeps fearfully clutching his teddy bear, Mr. Cuddles. Disgust sleeps with an eye mask and a hairnet, looking just grossed out as she sleeps. Anger's is my favorite. He has a cinder block as a pillow, a fire-resistant blanket, a fire sprinkler overhead, a speed bag for just boxing, a bat beside his bag, and then he just punches angrily in his sleep. Sadness whimpers in her sleep pathetically, and Joy is most relaxed of them. She giggles in her sleep. I like how her bunk is decorated like Riley's bedroom is. And on her shelf, we found him, folks, an origami figurine of Bing Bong. When I visited Pixar, I was obsessed with finding Bing Bong in this movie, and I asked the director Kelsey Mann and producer Mark Nielsen all about this when I visited Pixar Studios after bringing up my wife. I wanted to ask about, okay, so Bing Bong is gone.
Yes.
I understand that.
Not forgotten.
But not forgotten, because I noticed Joy has on her nightstand a little Bing Bong figurine.
Yes.
Right.
And
Origami.
Yes.
I assume that's just like the art team putting it in, but is it okay if I look at that as like the things we've lost in our childhood are always rediscoverable from our inner joy? Or am I looking into it too much?
I think that's beautiful.
I think
that's
that's
so
amazing.
well put, and I believe that. I think that's right.
I really, I made some decisions early on when I was just me by myself. I'm like, what do I want to do? And I made a list of sequels I loved and sequels I didn't like. And I'm like, why do I like these? And why did these go off the rails a little bit? Why do I not like these? And I made certain choices, like who's the protagonist of this film? Joy was the protagonist of the first film. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they change it. Sometimes they're like, now it's anger, And I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. I like the sequels that stay true to the original protagonist. So I don't want to switch characters' point of views. That was a decision I made early on. Another thing I did was like, I knew how much people love Bing Bong. And I'm like, I don't like sequels that completely ignore what the other film did. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Bing Bong was forgotten. And I think it would cheapen what Pete and you guys did with the original film if I go, just kidding, he's back. That was a powerful moment in the first film. And I think I'll diminish that impact if I go, just kidding, he's around. And so I said, I'm not going to do that. And I even told Pete, I go, I'm not going to do that. So out of respect to the storytelling, because I just think characters, once they're gone, they should stay gone.
I think there's something beautiful about that. Just having Joy can cling to him
Yes.
and remember him,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Do I have time for one more? Or?
No,
Are we good? All right, we'll leave it there, but it was so great.
Oh, that's the end?
Oh man, that was fast.
That was
Yeah.
fast.
yeah.
Well, I got in my wife question at the beginning.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's
Out
gonna
of
be worth a
obligation.
lot.
That wasn't that long.
Yeah, I know. Priorities, right? Priorities. Kelsey is so great.
Dude,
Yep, I obviously didn't do time management well in that interview, but you can see how important the decision not to bring back Bing Bong was. And to make it an origami figure means that Joy had to just like craft it together from her memory. These aren't like the Buzz Lightyear toys of Riley's mind that she could buy from a store somewhere. So the puberty button on the console begins to beep, kind of like the chirp of a smoke detector when the battery's dead and you don't know where the beeping is coming from and it drives you crazy. The alarm then goes off and they panic. And Joy instinctively throws the button into the plunger to fling it to the back of the mind. It's kind of like popping a zit and hoping it's gone forever. But it doesn't stop it. The mind workers arrive for demo day. A piano crashes from above. This is actually Joe's piano from Pixar Soul. They get a new console and it is super sensitive to the touch.
I'm too gross to go anywhere ever again!
Oh yeah, this is totally broken.
Riley just rages at her mother and is super grossed out at herself. And while it literally happens overnight for Riley, think about your teenage years. All it takes is one red dot flaring up somewhere it shouldn't, on a console or on a chin or anywhere, to just trigger everything else. So we had to camp, and there is this little moment where Riley's dad, Kyle MacLachlan, says to the mom, Diane Lane, in the front seat, "So, big weekend for us, what do you want to do?" And he makes this hilarious sexy face. That proves that the Pixar animators are totally aware of the internet obsession with Riley's dad. When asked about this meme, production designer Jason Deemer said, "We cannot let them down." In a hilarious scene where Disgust hyper-analyzes her friend's expressions, Riley learns that Grace and Bree were assigned to a different high school. So this is Riley's biggest fear from the first movie, having to reset her life and make all new friends. It comes roaring back in the worst possible time. After getting dropped off in a moment alone, Joy lets Sadness take the wheel for a quick private cry showing growth from the first film. We need Sadness. And then Riley meets Valentina Ortiz, and it immediately becomes awkward.
Riley, from Michigan, right?
It's Minnesota, sweet.
But Riley responds by just trying to be cool, and the emotions realize something has changed.
Orange? Who made the console orange?
Do I look orange?
I didn't touch
Orange is not my color.
Not me. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, I am just such a huge fan of yours, and now here I am meeting you face to face.
Yes, the character of Anxiety, voiced by Maya Hawke, and she is the perfect visual encapsulation of the concept of anxiety. She's got orange pom-pom hair, this too tight turtleneck, corduroy pants, twitching movement, and her teeth are just uncomfortably separated, looking like Gollum. She carries way too much luggage because she has emotional baggage. The Pixar team picked the color of orange for Anxiety, and throughout this movie, because the color in excessive amounts has been shown to produce anxiety or restlessness in some people. You'll notice throughout the skills camp, the locker room lockers, the seats around the rink, the banners that hang down, the Firehawks colors, the couch in the common room where Riley sits with Val's friends. They're all the color orange, and the color orange just increasingly takes over the palette of this film as it goes on. Actually, when I toured the studio, they let me in the ADR booth to read all of Joy's lines for this scene.
Orange? Who made the console orange?
Do I look orange?
I'll carry your things, watch you sleep.
Wow, you have a lot of energy. Maybe you could just stay in one place?
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Summer's almost here, but if you're feeling overwhelmed by the thought of beach days, pool parties, and barbecues, you might want to talk to somebody who can help you get in the right headspace to enjoy some hard-earned time off, and BetterHelp can help you connect to a therapist who's right for you. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier and less intimidating for a lot of people. First, use our link to go to their site, betterhelp.com/newrockstars. The site will ask you to answer a few questions so BetterHelp can match you up with one of their over 30,000 therapists who they think can help you out the most. The therapists they pick for you will have tons of experience dealing with whatever you're going through. Every single one of their therapists is licensed, has a master's or doctorate degree, and has spent over 3 years and 1,000 hours working with people just like you. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours so you can get started fast. We've been promoting BetterHelp for a while and have heard some amazing feedback from you guys. We've gotten permission to share this review from one of our viewers who said this: "I have had a few therapists over the last couple of years. My therapist was the most open and accommodating therapist I've ever had. He listened when I needed to talk and told me some hard truths when I needed to listen. I couldn't recommend him more." Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/newrockstars or choose New Rockstars during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. So we meet the other emotions, including envy, Io Edebiri. She was designed to be much smaller than the rest, with huge, desiring eyes, and notice only 4 fingers on each hand because she envies a 5th finger. There's embarrassment, Paul Walter Hauser, who's huge and trying to make himself small and constantly blushing. And every time he tugs on one part of his hoodie, it reveals too much of another part of himself, like when we see his butt crack. There's ennui, voiced by Adele Ekharkopoulos. I'm probably mispronouncing her last name. Ennui is a French term for an emotion that means a kind of apathy and a lethargy that really just speaks to like the French culture more than it does the American one. Because, you know, we get maximum like 10 days of vacation time a year and they get like 6 months of it. We learn that she is a console app because she's too low energy to stand up, but that sets up for sadness to use it later. There's also Nostalgia, who briefly shows up, voiced by June Squibb. She comes through the door just a bit early.
Remember when we all finally came up to headquarters?
Nostalgia.
That was like 30 seconds ago, Nostalgia.
Yeah, those were the days.
Originally, there are going to be way more emotions that they were playing around with during development, including a German emotion in Lederhosen named Schadenfreude, which in German means happiness at the misfortune of others. The door that these new emotions arrive through is actually a structure that they designed for the first film to be Anger's steam room, where he would go to relax and kind of cool off. That's why the door is shaped like Anger. But they removed the steam room scenes from the first film, but they kept the structure in the background, so they just repurposed it as a place where latent emotions wait to enter Riley's mind. So who knows what other emotions are in there. The creative team consulted a group of 9 teens across the country that they called Riley's crew. These kids are the ones who insisted that nostalgia had to stay in the film. As adults, I think we forget that even though as teenagers we don't have a ton of life experience to look back upon, teenagers actually do experience nostalgia for our earlier youth, and it's a pretty profound first-time sensation when that hits you as a teenager. Riley falls into these awkward little mannerisms with Val.
Yeah.
Oh god, we gotta zoom and enhance on this like Disgust does. What is this face, Riley? There's one eye squinting, there's one eye wide open like she's Pennywise in the sewer. We talked about the DreamWorks face, in which Shrek and Megamind were probably the worst offenders, but all animated movies in the aughts did this. It's just an unnatural expression that humans never make unless they're Riley here trying to produce a facsimile of cool. And I think anybody who watches this who's done this just cringes and relates. Anxiety explains how she is useful to what Riley needs.
Fear protects her from the scary stuff she can see, and my job is to protect her from the scary stuff she can't see. I plan for the future. Oh, I can show you. You're gonna love this.
Anxiety runs through possible likely scenarios, all tinted in orange, not taking camp seriously enough, goofing around, failing to impress Coach, and we see the other girls whispering and laughing at her.
She has no one. She eats alone, and only the teachers know her name. Ew.
Okay, you and I are gonna be friends.
And then Joy and Riley goofing around in the locker room gets the whole team in trouble, leading to Anxiety's scenario that Val's friends would gossip about her. But Anxiety's decision to apologize to Val profusely ends up working. And so Anxiety takes over. She has Embarrassment bottle them up in a jar.
What do you think you're doing? Riley's life is more complex now. It requires more sophisticated emotions than all of you. You just aren't what she needs anymore, Joy.
Can't just bottle us up?
Oh, that's a great idea. It's not forever. It's just until Riley makes varsity or until she turns 18 or maybe forever. I don't know. We'll have to see.
That look of hurt from Joy to be told she is not what Riley needs anymore. That's just a classic Pixar Toy Story concept, right? Like Woody feeling obsolete. And deep down, it's what these animators feel the most, that their own kids will outgrow their silly goofball parents with their button-up Hawaiian floral shirts that they wear at work. Oh, Jesus, what am I wearing? I only say that because, you know, you Pixar animators, I toured your workspaces, and while they're very fun, I don't know how you work out of themed offices that look like they're escape rooms. Anxiety and envy establish a new belief from the belief system pool: if I'm a firehawk, I won't be alone. And now when Anxiety flicks this thread, it angrily zigzags orange, showing how beliefs based in anxiety are really disharmonious to what Riley needs. The jar is taken to the secrets vault.
We are suppressed emotions!
In this vault, they meet Riley's secrets. There's Bloofy! Ron Funches, a kid's TV character animated in 2D based on Dora the Explorer, Bluey, and Blue's Clues. He carries Pouchy, who's voiced by James Austin Johnson from SNL. He's a parody of Backpack from Dora the Explorer. There's also Lance Slashblade, the video game character that Riley had a crush on. He's based on Final Fantasy characters, specifically I want to say PlayStation 2 or like GameCube era, and you can see just a bit of abs showing. There's also the hooded Deep Dark Secret, who everyone assumed was a particular particular thing based on Riley's interest in Val, but the post-credit scene we learn it was Riley burning a hole in the rug, or rather when Riley peed in the pool. So they use Pouchy's dynamite to blow open the vault door, and when Lance follows them out, I love how he moves at awkward 90-degree angles and gets blocked by the hatch like early era NPCs would. Now above the jail vault door is A113, the Cal Arts lecture hall where several of the Pixar animators got their start. The mind worker guards rush in to stop them, and Lance does his big move of slowly rolling toward them, but it actually does trigger a hilarious chain reaction that I got to see up close at Pixar in an animation review session where you can see how they carefully calibrate the physics of one guard getting flung by the mop handle, exactly how much a guard's legs would get smushed by the handcuffs when he jumps down on them. Meanwhile, in the background of all of these shots, Lance continues to slowly roll and roll and roll. And one of these guards' hats is labeled My Hat, which is a callback to the joke in the first movie.
Is that your hat?
Yeah, it's my hat.
You sure? I don't know. Look in the label.
Yeah, it says my hat.
Wait, it says my hat?
My hat, it says.
That's what I wrote in my hat.
What are you talking about?
You've got my hat on.
Anxiety wakes Riley up early to get in some extra practice. Val respects Riley's effort and invites her to hang out. Sadness goes up the tube to return to HQ, and when she dumps out into HQ, a bunch of memory spheres roll out with her, and on the right side of the screen is a yellow memory sphere that shows Elio floating in the air, a little Easter egg for Pixar's next film, Elio. Riley joins Val and her friends, telling them that she likes Get Up and Glow, and tries to recall a song, inevitably recalling the Triple Dent Gum jingle, you know, the annoying song from the first film that the mind workers send back to HQ just to mess around. And Bobby Moynihan does come back in this movie to voice that mind worker. Ennui makes Riley turn her genuine love of Get Up and Glow into a sarcastic statement, which opens the sarcasm.
Sarcasm? Really? Boy, are we so lucky we ran into you guys! Boy, are we so lucky we ran into you guys!
Huh? Wow. Those guys are jerks. Wow. Those guys are jerks.
That mind worker on the other side of the chasm is voiced by John Ratzenberger, longtime Pixar voice actor, and Cliff from Cheers. They head through Imagination Land, but it has changed from the first film. We do see Mount Crushmore, which includes Lance Slashblade, as well as Jordan, the kid from the end of the first film, who shows up in the short Riley's First Date. They also pass the Rumor Mill, a windmill that produces fake news, rumors, and gossip, and we return to Fort Pillowton, which Joy and Sadness passed in the first film, but now it has been hijacked into this Orwellian story artist work bullpen controlled by anxiety who looms over the cubicles on a giant screen like Big Brother. For Pixar story artists to conceive this as their own literal workspace with drawing boards and a shared screen to share their work expresses how even for these artists trying to construct this story, they often felt like they weren't good enough. Artist 87 is made to look like Ralph Eggleston, a longtime Pixar animator and art director, production designer who shaped the entire look of the 2015 Inside Out film that this sequel builds upon, who passed away in 2022. But Joy ends up overtaking the room, starting a revolution. One artist breaks anxiety's giant screen, just like in the 1984 Apple Big Brother commercial. That was Steve Jobs' big announcement. Steve Jobs was a chairman of Pixar, and the main building on their campus is the Steve Jobs building, but this worker shouts, "For Riley!" which is a callback to Riley's sacrificial imaginary boyfriends in the first film. For Riley! They run through the parade of future careers. There is a Pixar Luxo Ball Easter egg here. It's hiding behind some books in this shot. They pass a balloon for a pastry chef, underpaid, a balloon for art teacher, underappreciated, ethnomusicologist, don't know what that is, and then finally Supreme Court Justice. Now, originally, the stream of consciousness was going to flow into what was called Epiphany Bay, where Joy and the rest of them would fish for ideas. Even earlier versions of this film had them crossing through the subconscious to the unconscious, which is a cloudy, misty region where an even earlier incarnation of shame lurked as a demonic presence. As they were working through development of this movie, these ideas ended up getting scrapped in favor of them flying through the brainstorm, where idea light bulbs rain like hailstones. Joy and the rest ride this storm all the way to the back of the mind, while anxiety applies her big idea, do whatever it takes to be a firehawk, including using red juice powder to dye a red streak in her hair to look like Val and her friends. And then beat the record, scoring 3 goals to beat Val's record of scoring 2 goals in the scrimmage when she was Riley's age. Joy finds the I'm a good person belief memory that anxiety had punted back there, while anxiety achieves a new sense of self that echoes through the mind, I'm not good enough. The recall tube collapses, stranding them, and Joy says what might be one of the most bleak lines we've ever heard in a Pixar film. I don't know how to stop anxiety. Maybe this is what happens when you grow up. you feel less joy. And while the movie ultimately brings joy back from this brink, giving us an extended cathartic sequence of just Joy and Riley skating together, for adults watching this moment, we feel the truth of it. You do feel less joy as you get older, but joy is always there, you know? Good thing the first movie taught us why we feel sadness, right? So Anger summons Pouchy and chokes him by stuffing his arm in his mouth to find more dynamite to trigger an avalanche of bad memories back to HQ, no matter what that brings. Anxiety gets so worked up with I'm not good enough that she checks Grace during the scrimmage and plants her exactly the way Riley didn't want Grace to be when Grace dropped her jar of change in the classroom. So in the penalty box, Riley hyperventilates as she suffers a horrifying anxiety attack. Anxiety tornadoes around the console at super speed, closing it off. Joy breaks through, finding anxiety in the eye of it, seemingly paralyzed. But I was blown away by the visual concept here because anxiety is still zipping around the console to form the cyclone, but logically, 30 or so times per second, she would be looping back to this frozen pose. So that from our perspective and Joy's perspective, she appears to be frozen, but she's not. She's moving nearly at the speed of sound because that's what an anxiety attack is. You look catatonic, but in reality, you are processing a million things all at once. Joy and anxiety realize that they don't get to choose who Riley is, and they let the different Riley beliefs cycle through, warping the sense of self. So Riley apologizes to Grace and to Bree, and Sadness tells Joy, Riley wants you. And it parallels Joy telling Sadness that Riley needed her in the climax of the first film. And we get this wonderful moment of just Joy and Riley together as Joy helps Riley rediscover this joy of skating. It's a deeply cathartic moment, reminding us of Joy skating alongside Riley in the first film, back to those opening months of Riley's life when it was just the two of them together. So a couple months later, Riley awaits the email from Coach about joining the Firehawks. The emotions have now given Anxiety a special chair to sit in to vibrate. If she ever gets too worked up, all 9 emotions share the console. As Joy narrates, every bit of Riley makes her who she is, and we love all of our girl, every messy, beautiful piece of her. And Riley smiles at herself in her locker mirror, and yeah, there's still a zit on her chin, but that's okay. We hear the buzz of her phone notification, probably the ultimate sound of anxiety as you become an adult, and she looks down and then looks back into the mirror and smiles. And while the film does not tell us explicitly if she got on the team, we're pretty sure she did, but either way, the fact that she's still okay with herself is what matters. Now, over the credits, the parents ask Riley how camp went, and based on Riley's ennui reaction, we learn that both mom and dad have their own versions of anxiety that live in their heads too. And I love this because it answered one of the big questions I had during the film. Do all of the new emotions stay with us throughout our lives? We learned that the 5 core emotions always stay with us, but others can come and go just based on whoever the person is. So to end on a personal note here, the first Inside Out movie meant so much to me because it came out on a very difficult time in my life. It came out literally on the day in June 2015 when I lost my home in a fire in Los Angeles. Yep, I was technically homeless for a month. It was a difficult month. And literally I still had the smoke in my clothes and the ashes in my fingernails when that weekend I just kind of walked in stunned and catatonic, probably in an anxiety storm that I didn't even realize, and just wandered into the AMC Burbank because I'd already had tickets to this movie. And as I sat there, bam, here was a story about why we need sadness and how sometimes we just need a good cry to heal ourselves. And I walked out of that movie theater finally realizing you can cry, you can sob, and it's okay. And I was so grateful for those tears because I was able to move on to the next phase of my life. And that next phase eventually led me to my wife, Kelly, who ended up working at Pixar on Inside Out 2. And I'm just so proud of what she helped make. Inside Out and Inside Out 2, I believe, are 2 of the most ambitious animated films of our lives. No other film gives us as thoughtful of an insight into our own emotions, our own psychologies, with a brilliant, hilarious, exciting, allegorical journey into the mind. I wish I had these movies as a kid. I'm so glad I have them now. I'm so glad we can show them to our son one day and point to his name in the credits. And I'm just so glad that the whole world has it because it's just gonna help so many people. So thank you to everyone who worked on this movie and well done to all the artists. Comment down below with what you loved about this film. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.